Should we do it again?
No, we're fine. That's fine.
Oh, no, let's do it again. I'll be the host this time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you be the host.
This is Capes on Capes podcast. I'm Bryce. I'm on. You obviously know my name because I'm on FM 95 like once every 2 months.
You filled in for me 2 weeks ago.
I did. And that was one of the more confusing shifts. It was like, oh yeah, he does a countdown.
Hamby does like 50 things on his show. He doesn't mess around.
Do I need to eat something with Greg? Is that part of my duties?
Is that what we do? And I'm Hamby. Hey, how you guys?
Okay, but enough about that. We're here to talk about everything nerdy, pop culture, whatever you want to call it.
And the main focus is going to be superheroes, superhero shows, superhero movies, and you know, we're talking about it on the show now, but we've been discussing this as well. Do we talk about shows based on comic books as well? Because that gives us The Walking Dead. Do you know what I mean?
I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I try to think. I was listening to podcasts. I'd want to hear that too.
Okay. So this will be. I mean, we said superheroes and capes on capes, but it's going to be rules? Comic book related. Yeah. We don't need rules. We don't need. Give me
you know, in Walking Dead, they throw those like muumuus on. They cover with like guts. That's kind of a cape. Yeah, I'll count it. You give me a show, I'll find a cape.
Yeah, I will find a reason for us to.
I'll connect it.
Oh, but no. So there is, for the first time, I would say for the first time since the golden age of comic books, this is a time that like not only are comic books relevant, but it is pop culture. You know, and Bryce and I were talking a couple weeks ago. We've been wanting to do something like this for a long time, but I think it came out of I got pegged to do a hosting gig for the Legends of Tomorrow launch party,
and I was insanely jealous.
Yeah, and when you were like, we should do a podcast, and it was like, yes, let's do it now. And here we are.
Normally we see each other about once a week. Before the meetings.
Yeah.
And usually what we talk about is, hey, you see that new episode of Arrow?
Yeah.
Or Flash. Well, no, you don't watch Arrow, but
did you watch Flash?
Or, did you see this trailer that came out?
Oh, you know what? That was the other thing we were going to talk about. That was on our notes. Was the Gotham preview. Remember how I was in your office and I couldn't remember what the other thing was?
Oh, Gotham preview.
Yeah, the new Gotham preview. So let's get into it. Let's just talk about some of the shows. What, like, in a typical week, what are your shows that you're watching?
I pretty much got sucked into this whole CW.
Okay.
Which I still cannot believe.
The Berlantiverse, if we're calling it.
Sure, and there's nothing wrong with that, but what I can't believe is that it's literally the only shows I watch. 3 of them, all on CW, which, not to talk about anything, but it's known as the Vampire 13-year teenage girl network.
Oh, yeah.
But DC has just taken over. And it's great that they took the chance to do it, but I feel like still, as popular it is, so many people don't give it a chance because there's a stigma of CW.
Well, and it is a smaller network, and that's not to knock it. It's a fantastic network. It's run very well, but it is, quote unquote, a smaller network, which is weird in the world of cable with FX and FXX and MTV9. And why do you have to say, well, it's a smaller network? Well, yeah. It's an outlet. I don't care if it's YouTube. I will watch it if it's good.
The day is coming that they still don't recognize iTunes numbers and things like that. Shows go off the air. Huge followings online.
Sure.
And we know this very well because radio. You need those meters, but it'll change.
It's ridiculous. You know what that is? That's the brick and mortar versus Amazon argument, which is brick and mortar. It's like I can just get everything off of Amazon. But then all these brick and mortar stores are going out of business, and then why are DVDs still $20? Mm-hmm. If I can get it digitally, why are you charging me $20 for this? I'm not getting packaging. There's not a truck this has to be shipped on. It is digital. I know there's servers that have to host it to have me download it, but why am I being charged the same as because of brick and mortar? And they're trying to keep brick and mortars like the Best Buys and the Walmarts in business, which is garbage. But anyway, I'm off topic on the topic.
So I watch Arrow, Flash, now starting Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
And
I missed this week's. I haven't watched it yet. It was last night. As we record this, it's a Friday night.
Very good.
Yeah.
And Daredevil I watched, but those are different because it's not a. You binge those. You binge those. You don't watch those.
Yeah, you watch that the first weekend, or get the fuck out.
Daredevil actually took me a while, but we can get into that later.
No, of course. I watch, in a typical week, I don't watch Arrow. And this is the stigma we were talking about. It's 2 CW for me.
And it has It has gotten that way.
Yeah. It's just the first season was a real struggle for me. I'm like,
I'm telling you, season 2.
I mean, I love superheroes, and to be honest, there's certain superhero stuff that I will love and go. I'm just glad it's on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know
And
this
that's
is
the
bad,
reason
but I'm glad it's
watch.
on.
That's why I still watch it, because to me it's the package deal. All 3.
Yeah. See, but for Arrow, I'm like, I don't care. I struggle, and the whole thing is what's really crazy is the actor who plays Arrow is awesome. He's so he's on social media.
Take a minute to
talk about what he did
how
for San Diego.
The
Yes.
Chargers, Colin Spanos, a dink. First off, I've not heard that word since I think Bart Simpson's might have said it in the 90s, like mid 94, like the early mid.
Yeah, if you don't know the story, here in San Diego, we are unpotentially losing our football team, the San Diego Chargers. Dean Spanos is the owner. You've seen it on the news possibly. He tried to make a move to LA, which blew up in his face, and now he's stuck here for another year, and they're trying to make it work. And Stephen Amell went on Twitter.
Is it Amell or Amel? I've been saying it wrong for years.
Either or, I'll take either. But the Arrow, he went and did a selfie video, and in his voice he said, "Dean Spanos, you have failed this city. Seriously, don't be a dink." And it was like, oh, yes!
It was fantastic.
And it was Derek Torgeson from NBC here in San Diego that shared it. And I don't know, I think they know each other. Because that seemed like, that didn't go to other outlets. I felt like Derek's the one that shared it.
No.
Yeah.
And it will. I mean, to be fair, it's the most relevant for us.
How do you trace things back on social media sometimes? Like, we can't even find people who originally created a meme to give them credit for it, let alone figure out.
If it's been more than 2 days, I can't even find my own post on the 90 for 9 one.
No.
But that's a whole nother story.
That's
We can get another time.
But no, so I've never got into Arrow. I do watch Flash. I'm watching Legends of Tomorrow. For me, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter. And then that's it for me on a weekly. Counting The Walking Dead, I also watch The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead.
I watched those too. I thought we were just talking what's like.
You're
literally not on TV
sure.
right now. So,
but yeah. So those are the shows that I watch.
We'll throw Game of Thrones in the mix. Jon Snow's got a cape.
We'll do it.
All the Knights watch them. They all got capes. They all got capes.
They have capes? What's the big deal?
They have capes on their capes. It's quite
Capes
cool.
on Capes is the name of the podcast, folks. But yeah, so those are the shows I watch, and I want to watch Supergirl, and I've not watched a single episode. And I remember friends of mine were like, "Hey, did you watch Supergirl? It got leaked. You could download it." And I was like, "No, I didn't download it. I didn't watch it." And they're like, "Oh, you're being anti-pirating," and I'm like, "Huh, let's not be silly. I don't pirate stuff." No, but I said I don't want to watch a pirated, leaked, because I knew it wasn't leaked. They released it. It was
like they did the same thing with Flash.
Right, and I was like, I don't want to watch the.
And it's usually missing.
I guess
some
the raw
special
footage.
effects.
Yeah, and I was like, I want to watch it when it's on TV. When it's done, that's when I want to watch it, and then I haven't watched it. So there you go.
I took the exact opposite approach. When I find out something's leaked, this is hypothetical because I would never torrent or stream something.
Right.
But let's say I did. I watched the first episode. I dug it, but it just wasn't enough for me to keep watching.
I also accept responsibility to say certain shows aren't for me, and I don't mean to knock the show. And
that definitely
right.
falls
And
in that
I looked at
category.
CBS's Supergirl, and I thought, you know what? I don't think this show is tailored to me, and that's fine. And I was like, cool. And I'm like, I think I'm gonna watch it at some point.
Did you watch the first one, or you haven't watched any?
Not at all. I've not watched any of it. I mean, I had
to give it one.
I watched the trailers for it. Obviously.
Initially, it was Burt Lanning. Greg. It was Greg's show.
Greg Berlanti.
Greg Berlanti.
It is his show.
Yes, so it's his show.
Right, and
so
he's the guy that did Arrow and the Flash and Legends of
open.
Tomorrow. Right.
And he had been very vocal. That's something he's always wanted. And just so happens to pivot this conversation
to the news.
Flash and Supergirl will be crossing over.
What?
I hope there's enough memory in this Foxborough because I can go off all day all night on how fantastic this is.
Yeah.
DC has always done parallel universe. That's always been their thing.
52. Yep.
52. Even in Justice League cartoons, there's always the bad version of
Crisis
them.
on
They
Infinite Earths.
get sucked into each other's. So essentially, DC is just taking. They have in TV alone. They have 3 universes right now. At least that I can think of. They got Gotham's its own thing. They've got Arrow, Flash, Legends, and they got Supergirl.
And the weird thing about Gotham is it's we're gonna get into some minutia here real quick to set this up. Gotham is on Fox.
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna touch it.
I don't think it will.
I don't think. I think they're gonna stay apart. And here's the reason why. And the reason why Flash can join Supergirl is Flash is on CW, Supergirl's on CBS, and they're both owned by Viacom.
Yeah.
And a couple weeks ago, not to peel back the covers too much, but a couple weeks ago, I went to our local CW and I got to see Legends of Tomorrow before we did the event. So they're like, "Hey, you get to see it, and then you're doing the event next week." Great. And when I was hanging out, like the folks that work there were really cool. Like they're geeks. They're us, and they're so excited to promote shows like The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Arrow, iZombie, which we didn't even talk about, but it is a DC property. It is a comic book. They're so excited to promote these shows, and we got into a conversation casually about the Supergirl and Flash, and I had said, and I was like, well, you know, back in September, August, Entertainment Weekly, they had the cover, and they put, you know, Grant Gustin, who's the Flash, on CW, and they put it next to Melissa Benoist, who's Supergirl from CBS, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's happening!" And, in Entertainment Weekly, they were very clear. No, it's different. We're not doing any. No,
you
no.
But you know what? You don't put them on the cover together if it's not possible.
If it's not possible, and then here we are back in January, and the folks at CW, and I was like, "Well, you know, he said," and they were like, "Oh, he did say that, didn't he?" And I was like, I squinted at him, like.
Did he lower his glasses and look at you?
Yeah, and I was like,
there a tip of a cap?
And I said, I was like, what are you getting at? They're like, well, you know, we're both owned by Viacom, and I went, oh, that's the end. Okay, and then sure enough, the news comes out this week. I grabbed the news article. I emailed the guy over at CW, and I was like, were you trying to tell me something? He's like, I couldn't tell you, but you guessed. Yeah, yeah, so awesome. Yeah, continue.
And that doesn't mean, but there always is a little hope. I know, and I don't think Gotham would ever cross over. But Constantine, for example, owned by NBC and GE, whoever the hell.
But they gave up the rights to it.
Right. So it would take a deathly situation.
Yeah, a show would have to end for something like that to happen. Yeah.
But Gotham it would never even really fit.
And the thing you mentioned about Constantine, that was a show, seasons go by so fast.
2 years
2014?
Sure.
2014, 2015. I think it had 7 episodes. It struggled on NBC.
Finished on Hulu, I think.
Yeah, and they weren't able to finish it. And the guy who played Constantine was pretty cool. And didn't he cross over with? Crossed over with Arrow.
He ended up on Arrow.
So he did end up on Arrow. Yeah, they used the actor, brought him back as Constantine,
which is great. And now there's rumors that Constantine could end up on Legends of Tomorrow.
Right, which would be great.
Yeah, no, I believe not this season, but next season they really want to get Matt Ryan, who played him, did a fantastic job. The show was a little tiresome. They did that whole
Monster
villain of the week.
Yeah,
it would just get old.
Notice we know that meme. You know what I mean? It kind of comes from X-Files back in the '90s, but it is the Monster of the Week storyline.
But you can't do anything now. It has to be long arcs.
Yeah.
Covering multiple shows sometimes.
And I feel Netflix did that. I really feel like the fact that like we got, you know, not necessarily Daredevil, but you got like a House of Cards, and here's a season, here's the whole story.
Yes.
And it's like, you're not spoon feeding me, you're not doing the Lost route anymore. You can't do a show like Lost. It can't happen anymore.
Well, that's half the tease. Is Lost. I watched 2 seasons of Lost, and I found this show, and you feel free to disagree with me, is okay.
Yeah.
But I will absolutely stick around because I need to see the scenes from next week.
Right.
I don't care so much about the actual content, as there's a tease at the end that's gonna mind fuck me, and then I need to see the tease from next week, and somehow I've killed 40 hours of
somehow I'm sucked into this stupid show. So we're in a really good place. So when is the Flash going to be on Supergirl? And it's not going to be a vice versa. Supergirl's not coming on Flash, as we know. But as the news story broke, Grant Gustin, Flash, is going to be on Supergirl on CBS.
If you watch those shows...
Good for Grant, by the way.
Yes.
You know, get some paper, sir.
Good for Mr. High School Musical, or whatever. Glee.
He was on Glee. Yes. As a warbler.
If you watch those shows, it only works that way. Flash because
he can travel between
jump
the
to Earth 2 and Earth 3, and that's what I was talking about.
Which he's doing next week on the show, right?
Yes. So it's easy. Oh, you meant to go to Earth 2. Whoops, you're in Earth 3, 4, or 5.
You know, and that is the funniest thing is that Entertainment Weekly comes out. It's before the shows have come out this year, and no, we can't cross over. I mean, we'd love to. It's just we can't. It's not something we can do. And then this season of Flash starts. First episode, somebody comes from an alternate Earth, and everyone's like, "It's possible. It's possible. You found it."
Because without that, it wouldn't work. Because Supergirl has Superman in it. How do you explain Flash's? There's Flash and Arrow's cities.
There's no Superman
brink.
in Flash
and Arrow.
Is
Superman just a dick, and he didn't want to save you? Like, nah, you guys got it. You have a bow and arrow. What could I do? So it works, but
I'm not entirely sure. But I think you've turned back time multiple times now, so you've got this.
A lot of fail safes.
You remember that one movie I was in where I rotated the planet backwards to return?
I'm gonna tweet Neil deGrasse Tyson and see if it really works that way. I'm not sure.
Do you think he'd ever answer us? Maybe if we dropped a diss track saying the Earth was flat, and that's why we can time travel.
Get B.O.B. to retweet it. Maybe he'll just get so furious he'll make a video.
What an idiot. In other words.
Oh wait, we're talking about dates.
May.
That makes for a hell of a weekend because Batman Superman comes out.
Oh.
And then that crossover episode is that Monday.
I'm excited for Batman vs Superman. And this gets into a little bit of, I don't want to get out of the news, but you being a DC fan, me being a Marvel fan, I'm not a Marvel fanboy because I grew up reading DC Comics. But when I default, it's Marvel characters because X-Men is my favorite property. Was for many, many years.
Which is interesting though that X-Men is almost, and this is movies and TV, not comic books, but it's almost becoming separate from Marvel.
It is because
Fox holds the rights, and Marvel Studios wants nothing to do with it. They don't get toys right now, I believe.
No, they do. You know what?
Well, they don't get toys of the movies.
Why don't you remind me at the end of this? I want to dive into this about why Marvel doesn't own quote unquote certain things. Let's focus on the because you and I will go rabbit holes.
Yes.
You guys will go on.
This podcast will be 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
I hope everyone has cancels their plans. No one has work today.
There's not enough time in the week for us to do
a whole podcast just on that one.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? Maybe we should at a later date, but I will touch on that at the end of the show. But it's in May is the Flash and Supergirl, and Batman vs Superman is that same weekend, or it's the weekend,
it's the Friday and the Monday is that episode.
Yeah, and that's gonna be awesome. What I was gonna say is that I'm excited for Batman vs Superman, but I was so disappointed in Man of Steel. Not that it was a bad movie, but it's not entertaining.
I liked it. I dug it, and it's a movie to me of just great score.
Yeah.
I thought the score blew me away.
Hans Zimmer, come on.
The special effects were great. But there are some plot holes you could drive a truck through in that show. Why they brought Lois Lane on that spaceship just to not do anything.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, while I'm excited for this new movie, I'm just as scared for it.
That's what I'm saying.
Because if it sucks, DC's whole universe is fucked.
Yeah.
Man, what do you do? What do you just... Man of Steel, at best, people will say it was okay.
Yeah.
And really down from there. No one is really
That's me. I'm like, it was
saying
okay.
It was great. I enjoyed watching it.
I've seen Man of Steel maybe 3 times, possibly 3.5. And the correlation for that and why I say I'm kind of more of a Marvel guy right now is that I took a nap earlier today and I put on my iPad.
Did you put on Man of Steel to make sure you
I put on Avengers Age of Ultron. Which, in all intents and purposes, was kind of not a bad movie. It made a lot of money. It was very well done. But it was just so, disjointed and just so bloated. So much going on in that movie. And yet, I've now seen that movie probably 6 or 7 times. And I can pick it up at different times because the actors in it, the writing in it, the action in it is all good. So even if I'm catching snippets of the movie, I'm entertained. Man of Steel, I struggle. I'll put Man of Steel on. I'm like, I'd rather just go play some Rainbow Six. You know what I mean? Or just do anything else but what I'm doing. Like maybe put on an episode of Arrow, which is blasphemy in my house, but not blasphemy.
That's a little strong. You need to try Arrow.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And this is really, we're arguing opinion now because I'm kind of the opposite. To me, Marvel, it's just... especially with Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
It just felt there was no sense of urgency ever in that movie to me. I never felt like they're really gonna lose this. Marvel and DC, and maybe to their peril, gets a little too dark sometimes, where you feel like not that they're losing. It's always like, what's the point of all this? Are we even making it better?
Where's the charm? Where's the personality? Where is
there was a point in Man of Steel that I thought was the biggest flaw of the movie. in that at the very end, you remember there's two ships. One's at the ice cap. One's like messing up. Okay, he's fucking up Metropolis.
Yeah.
Remember the two?
Yeah.
Superman goes into the ice cap one.
Yeah.
Why didn't they let the military go to the ice cap one just for better movie going, and Superman go to Metropolis, save people, start getting a little humanistic? There was a girl who's stuck in cement, and there's rebar crushing her. It's coming down on her, and you're assuming, oh, Superman's gonna save her. Superman's gonna save her. No, like Lawrence Fishburne like grabs her. Here, I'll help you out.
You know
And that
what?
was
You know
such-
what? That's actually a really good point. And I know that the Zack Snyder, who's did Man of Steel, and he did
Mhm.
Watchmen, and he's doing and Watchmen is a DC property. It has nothing. It's not in the same
No,
quote-unquote
it's
universe,
Vertigo, but
he's the one that did the
Yes.
movie, and he's the one that doing Batman vs Superman, and he's out this week defending his Man of Steel, and he's like, "Hey, listen, you think that Superman didn't kill in the comics? You're not a comic book reader. Go back."
No.
And that's okay. That's fine. You shouldn't have to defend yourself, but you're right. Right there, is Christopher Reeve Superman would have saved that person.
yes.
And as a director, that's on you. You're the
Mhm.
one telling me that story. I don't want to hear a story of a girl getting crushed and another human being saves her.
Mhm.
When I go to a Superman movie, like
Yes.
I want to see, I don't want to see him turn back time by reversing the Earth, but I
Right.
do want to see
There's a
him.
middle there.
Yeah,
that
I
they
want to see him
failed
on the
to
other
hit.
side of the planet, fighting Zod, and Lois is dangling out of a helicopter, and then he gets that one punch, and then it's a
Mhm.
race, and then they're racing, and they're racing, and they're
Mhm.
racing, and he finally gets to the point where he gets back and he saves Lois,
Mhm.
and then Zod takes him down, and they get into a big brawl.
Yes.
But he still saved Lois. So
It never had
you're
that.
right. There's no
He
moment
almost
in the
had this
movie.
feel of like, I'm not really here to save you. I'm here to stop Zod because this is my enemy.
As bad as the Brandon Ruth Superman movie was, not Brandon Ruth himself, but as bad as the
Mhm.
Brandon Ruth, what was that one?
Superman Returns.
Yeah, Superman Returns. As bad as that one is panned, the one
Yeah.
with Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning of the movie, he's been gone. He's been off planet. He comes back and he saves Lois in the plane. Did you not get the chills?
It's great. Yeah.
Did you not go, oh yes, this is yes? And that's the whole point.
It
I
did
mean,
fail to deliver after that.
It
point,
did. It
though.
failed to deliver
I mean,
the
villain-
rest of the movie.
villain was like a rock, right? Wasn't it?
It was
big rock.
kryptonite.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he had what did Lex
If you
do?
pushed it into space.
What did he do? He injected kryptonite into the polar
Mhm.
ice cap or something, and then that's why Superman was getting destroyed and whatever.
Anyways, but hey, props to Brandon Routh, doing a great job on Adam.
Yes, as the Atom.
The Atom.
I called him at
On
the event.
Legends
I called
of
him
Tomorrow.
Captain Atom, but he's the Atom.
There is a Captain Adam. That's a Marvel one, isn't it?
Captain Atom is. Oh shoot! I think Captain Atom. Yeah, Captain Atom in the DC universe is the Air Force pilot who is blown up in an experiment, or
Mhm.
he's going to prison, and they say to him, "You can go do this instead and do this test for us," and
Yeah.
he becomes basically nuclear energy, and
Okay.
he's the one housed in a suit,
You're
all
right.
silver,
Yeah.
red boots, and the red star on his chest, and
He can
um,
absorb explosions.
he can
also,
absorb
like
energy
Meg,
like
yeah, okay.
like in DC the Legends of Tomorrow, just like Firestorm can do.
Yes.
Where he inhaled the nuclear
Mhm.
fallout of a bomb. That's what Captain
Yeah.
Atom can do. Yeah. And anyway.
What were we talking?
Well, we were talking
keep
about
going
May.
on.
We were in the news. So Batman vs
Oh.
Superman and Flash on Supergirl.
Let me just finish up the point on Man of
Did
Steel.
we finish 8 points?
Let's start with one, shall
Fair
we?
enough.
First, we'll start with one point. We're talking Man of Steel. So much death. He's defending it now. The only thing that can make it worth it, and it seems like they are going to do it in this movie, is that maybe the plan was always, this is going to be a big deal. Him letting that many people die, is not something that's going to be brushed over.
Which they do show in the
I
trailer,
mean,
yeah.
seems the government's pissed and Batman's pissed.
Bruce Wayne himself. Yeah, and they show in the trailers that Bruce was there
Yes.
in Metropolis
Yes.
at Wayne Tower in Metropolis and
Mhm.
is experiencing it at ground level.
And I did hear that the cities, so in this version
Or across the
of,
water.
of this Earth 4, let's call it,
Sure.
they're across, kind of like an Oakland, San Francisco situation.
Right.
I like that.
Right, that's cool.
Yeah, you're not messing with
Because
anything, but you're
you
adding
get
a
a
new
little
layer.
bit
It's
inborn
cool.
rivalry between the characters and the
Mhm.
cities.
One's clearly Oakland. You know.
Yes.
The other one's San Francisco, looking very nice.
Speaking of one's clearly Oakland, that's Metropolis, obviously. No,
Yeah,
that's Gotham.
yeah.
That's Gotham.
You
No
know,
offense,
the
folks in Oakland.
sunny
Yeah.
metropolis that is Oakland, California. Go Raiders.
Yeah, go figure. All the rich folks in Metropolis let the folks in Gotham squander. Go figure. There's a lot of parallels to real life.
It's
Other stuff that was in the news.
yeah.
Legion is there was casting announcements for Legion, which is going to be a Fox show, and that is from the X-Men universe.
And this is a connecting one, yes?
Connecting in, I don't know how. Currently, Fox doesn't have an X-Men property on television.
Right.
They have the movies. They have Wolverine. They have Deadpool. They have X-Force. They have
But
X-Men.
is this supposed to be in the same universe?
That's where I'm like, we don't know until it airs, and they haven't said anything, but they've only had casting. I don't know who the lead is, but it was the guy from Downton Abbey. A guy from Downton Abbey.
Okay.
Aubrey Plaza.
I'll check with my mother on
Yeah.
who that is.
Aubrey Plaza is going to be in the show, and Gene Smart, who
Mhm.
I believe was in Growing Pains back in the 80s. I don't remember. But yeah, so the interesting news
Gene
is...
Smart, like Kirk Cameron wasn't available?
Yeah. Oh! Sick burn!
No, I met Kirk Cameron. He's very nice.
Yes, he's very nice. He's very Christian. And then, so Legion casting is big news because that means the show is going to be in development. It's, there's going to be a date at a certain point. It's going to have marketing at a certain point. So
Was
you're like, oh,
Legion
okay.
a thing before, or is this a made-up, starting fresh?
Oh, he's a character from the comics. He's
So Legion
Professor
is
X's
a
son.
character. It's not like a crew of people.
Well, he's Professor X's son. He's actually X's. He's Professor X's son, and his mother is Moira McTaggart. In the movies, that is the character who is working with the FBI. In the comic books, she runs a school. She runs like a she runs like a
School for the
clinic.
Gifted?
Well, she works with the professor. So she's over in Europe, in like England, Scotland area, and she has like a school / clinic where she takes care of mutants. And her and the professor, get it on, and then they have their son, and he becomes Legion. And his name is Legion because he is, I don't want to say crazy, because that's what I would have said 20 years ago, but he has a mental issue that he's got multiple personality disorder. And every one of his personalities has a different mutant power. So, and they're always vying for control.
In X-Men 2, didn't Professor X's son, that Hank Schrader had he was same power, but he was like uncontrollable and he'd been used.
The mind control?
Yeah, was
No,
that
no.
was a different character I'm thinking of?
That was a different character altogether.
Okay.
Yeah. That was the character of Mastermind reimagined as
No, it was Hank Schrader's son.
not Hank Schrader.
Hank
That's
Schrader.
okay.
What's Hank Schrader?
Well, it's Brian Cox was the actor. Who, I can't,
The bad guy who
Yeah.
put the metal into Wolverine.
yeah. No, anyway, it's his son, but it's a reimagining of Mastermind.
It's gonna bug me forever. Who's Hank Schrader?
I don't know. I think he was.
Oh, Hank Schrader is the brother-in-law from Breaking Bad. Different universe. That's where it's 5.
Where's my money, bitch? So moving on from Legion casting, but that's who Legion is. His mutant power is that he has multiple personality disorder, and that every one of his personalities has a mutant power.
So in a sense, he is a crew.
Yeah, that's why he's named Legion.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because we are Legion.
I just got it.
There you go.
I just got it.
The other news this week, new Gotham promo. Gotham's coming back after the mid-season break, and they've teased Cold.
Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze.
Let me
My
help you out with
brain.
that one.
My brain. I'm like Captain Cold.
How long have we
Poison.
been podcasting? 4 hours? 4
Yeah.
hours?
28 minutes.
Do you watch Gotham?
I did the first season. I was very into it. Like 8, 9 episodes, maybe even almost 12. And it was almost a year ago when it came back from the break.
You never went in.
The first episode aired, and it was on my DVR, and I was like, yeah. And then, which is
Do
so
you
funny.
intend to watch it, or is it maybe I will, maybe I won't?
No, I will, because I think it's a good show, and I think it's entertaining. I like the lead actor, and I think I liked what I saw. A lot of people don't like Jada Pinkett Smith, but I liked her Fish Mooney character.
I think it's cool. I think it was a little bold of them to try to I believe it's just made up, right? I read a lot of Batman. I don't
That's a
remember
new
that
character, yeah.
it's just made up.
But she was inserted into the gang war that is introduced before Batman,
Sure.
which They do talk about briefly in Batman Begins.
Yeah.
You know, because the mobs control everything until
Yeah.
Batman, and then the mobs don't control anything,
Right.
so they control less and less territory. So that's interesting. They are introducing Mr. Freeze.
My problem with Gotham is I feel like they're way too obvious with their. Here comes Edward Nygma. I have a riddle. Because I might be a Riddler one day. It's so blatant. Now they're doing free. I feel like the whole show is just, hey, look what characters in this one.
Yeah.
And I get that all shows do that. I mean, Flash and Arrow wouldn't exist if it wasn't teasing like, hey, look, that army jacket says Jordan on it.
Easter
Might
eggs.
it be
Wink,
Easter
wink.
eggs?
Yeah.
But theirs are just so blatant about it.
They were a little heavy-handed about it, sure.
But maybe it's gotten better. I want to say the first 3 episodes.
Okay.
I like that it felt.
I've
like,
heard season 2 is fantastic.
I felt like it was heading towards a Burton Batman, and I liked that a lot.
A little dark.
Very gothic.
Yeah.
A little cartoony, but in
And
a violent way.
Right.
I want to say.
right. Batman 2 is very cartoony in a violent way.
Yeah, that was very.
Especially when he's fighting the clowns in
He
the
also
streets at Christmas.
killed a lot of people in that movie.
Yeah, my
It doesn't-
girlfriend and I rewatched
but
it. and I was
because it's
like, "He kills a
cartoony,
lot
you
of
don't
people."
notice. He's like grabbing grenades and he's put it in that guy's pocket, and it's funny. But as an adult, I'm looking, I was like, wow, that's, you just killed like 9 people right
I always
there.
forget when we're podcasting. I'm nodding. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
You have to emote.
Yeah.
We are recording a
Mhm.
video. Hey, what's
Yeah.
going on, camera? But we are also recording audio.
Mhm.
Moving on from
We're
Gotham.
also drinking a big old stone.
We have to drink
If
beer
I
to christen the new
I have
podcast.
burped in the microphone a couple times. That is terrible radio, but we're not on the radio technically.
I'm still fighting a chest cold, which seems to stick in my nose,
Mhm.
so I keep snorting and coughing.
Oh,
so
good.
it is
good.
what
So
it
it's
is.
just gross.
Yeah, it's just gross. It's just disgusting.
Okay.
And then the final news that we were talking about, well, 2 final news. You know, we
Mhm.
skipped over Henry Cavill, who posted today on Instagram a
Can
selfie.
we just take a moment?
Holy
if you're-
crap,
if
bro!
you're- Okay, so if you're listening, just pause the podcast.
Yeah.
Go and just Google Henry Cavill. It'll be the
Henry
top
Cavill
news
Instagram.
because nothing new is gonna top this.
Holy
that bod.
crap! Holy
Now that-
crap!
Now that's the bod that don't quit.
No, that you are Superman.
Mhm.
You are 100% Superman. And it's like, for the ladies, it's the flavor trail of hair
Sure.
down to the sweatpants, and
Yeah.
he's got not the not just the abs,
Yeah.
but what is that thing where the muscle thigh? You know, when the thigh meets the stomach
like,
area.
It's like the body is literally making an arrow
yeah,
down to the
yes,
knee.
yeah.
Yeah.
When your muscles start to make an arrow down to your groin, you're like, oh, you're
Yeah.
doing something
Yeah.
well over
Yeah.
there.
I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there.
My
And
girlfriend
ladies,
goes,
if you like the trail leading down, I have got a freeway that is good to go. Just putting that out there.
Bryce starts at the center of his back, comes
Yeah.
over his left shoulder like a strap.
Goes through the beard. It splits. It makes little. It forks.
Yeah.
The road forks, and it comes down together.
It forms a heart in
Mhm.
one area
Mhm.
because why not?
Yeah. I've always thought myself very Superman-esque.
Yeah, so there is some Superman news for you.
Yeah.
Henry Cavill.
He did a shirt. The
Holy
guy took
crap,
a picture
bro.
with his shirt off, but you got to see it.
Yeah, you got to
Yeah,
see
see
it.
it.
So and moving on from that, Luke Cage. Not really news.
Well, let's back it up.
okay.
Luke Cage is not a huge character.
No.
So Luke Cage is a Marvel character.
Yeah.
The next one.
The next
No, Daredevil is
he's
going
gonna have a
up
Netflix
next.
series. It's Daredevil, then Luke Cage.
Okay, so this is the
In the
Netflix
fall.
series
Yeah.
they're doing.
And he was introduced on Jessica Jones, which was introduced in the fall. Her series is on Netflix now. Fantastic. Very dark, very noir, very creepy, very good. But
I'll try again. I couldn't.
it's hard. I'll admit
But
it's hard.
Daredevil was hard too.
I like Daredevil. I powered through Daredevil.
Daredevil. Here's the thing.
I
And
did
it-
rewatch it.
and this is the Netflix the way they're doing shows.
Yeah.
It's not episodic. It's one long movie. So it's a 12-hour movie,
Pretty much,
essentially.
yeah.
12 episodes, 10, whatever.
Yeah.
It's a long movie. I feel they could have cut 3 or 4 whole episodes out of that.
You know, everyone's been saying that about both Jessica Jones and Daredevil, that somewhere around episode, I don't know, 10, because if
Mhm.
it's 12 episodes, like episode 10 and 11 are usually, you could have just done 10.
Mhm.
And episode 12 is always great. You could have had that as episode 10.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
with Daredevil, I had to power.
I think they're doing 10 episodes.
It's
Still. You
I
get
think they
to
could
like
have done
episode
7 or
8.
8.
Yeah, you get to episode 8.
Get
and
get
episode
one of
8
these
and
British
9 are filler.
directors
Yeah.
that do like 4 episode seasons.
Yeah.
It'll be perfect. But yeah, Daredevil, I got through half of it. I will say that fight with the guy with the chains and the claws definitely reinvigorated me.
With the Red Ninja?
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, he's fantastic.
So that definitely reinvigorated and powered me to the second half. I thought it picked up a lot better, but it was just so long.
Yeah.
And I think that's almost kind of scared is too strong of a word, but it's made me hesitant to jump into Jessica Jones because it's like it feels like a little work.
Jessica Jones actually was work. I was watching Jessica Jones because of its subject matter. There was a couple of times that I even said to my girlfriend Jessica, I was like, some of this is like, I feel like we need to get through this. Like we need to finish this episode to see what happens next, because some of the episodes, David Tennant, who was on Doctor Who, British actor, he's fantastic. He plays the villain. He plays Kilgrave. And he has mind control powers, and some of the stuff that they do. I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like, I never thought you'd go there. Not that you can't do that. You can't do it on network television, but you can do it on Netflix and HBO. But I didn't think you'd go there. Like, you went there. Like, this is what someone who with mental powers unhinged would do. Like, someone who could just tell you what they want you to do, and you'll do it. Okay. Wow. All right. You went there. You know what I mean? Like, from anything from rape, because
I was getting that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Why did my mind go there? My first thing was thinking, how rapey does this get?
Very.
Because that's when you think it's the ultimate id is thinking, oh, if it's complete mind control,
well, part of her
I
character,
would make them have sex with me.
Well,
or
and part of her
with
character
someone.
and her arc is her PTSD, because before the show, she was under his power, and then before the show, she gets out of it from a traumatic event, and now we see a broken shell of a human being who's trying to recover and trying to not make herself the victim, and who, for all intents and purposes, she has superpowers. I don't want to spoil it if anyone hasn't watched it, but she has superpowers.
You assume there's superpowers
Well,
involved in a Marvel show.
But she's just a very raw character, and she drinks and she fights and she's rude, and that's kind of who she is. But it's also, she's a damaged person. She doesn't go to therapy in the show, and she's still dealing with the fallout of things that he made her do, and then you get to see what he does to other people in real time and how he. There's a point, not to spoil it.
What is Jessica Jones' power? She's very strong, right?
She's strong. She can't in the show. She can't fly, but I remember in the comics she could. Maybe she just jumps.
Okay.
With the illusion
kind of like a
of
Hulk
flying.
leap.
Yeah, where Hulk leaps like 6 miles. She can jump because she's strong. Yeah, that's all she is. She's just super strong. She's not even invulnerable.
How does she get strong? Spoiler, like a long time ago.
They actually don't cover it.
She just is?
Yeah, she just is. Like at one point, I think as a kid. No, they do cover it a little bit. I don't want to get into it.
Okay.
They don't actually say plot A happens to plot B, but something happens and then she has powers. Yeah.
Okay.
But Luke Cage was introduced on her show. Fantastic. The actor is Lee Coulter, and to say Henry Cavill looked fantastic on that Instagram of his, and he is Superman. Lee Coulter is Luke Cage. That man is sexy as hell. Big black guy, looks like Luke Cage.
Is there also a nice shirtless photo floating around?
They have. There's sex. There's sex in the show.
Go ahead and pause the podcast.
Yeah.
Look it up. Get back to us. We're gonna pause this right now.
I
so
think you
can
get
look
to
it
see.
up.
I think you get to see his butt if you want. If that's what you're into. Like
Okay.
when there was a scene where Jessica Jones and Luke Cage had sex in Jessica Jones, my girlfriend was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Whoa, calm down over there."
That's not even close to me.
Not all of us can be superheroes with invulnerable skin. Thank you very much. No, but what a great casting. Like he looks like Luke Cage, and that's what you would want. And he was very charismatic. He had great character on her show. I can't wait for his show. I can't wait.
Was he a pivotal role in that show, or was he more of a cameo? Showed up, did his one
well,
episode, was out?
no. I mean, there's a couple of episodes that he's involved, and then there's episodes where he's not in the picture at all. He's very pivotal. A character in his life is very pivotal to Jessica's life, getting out of Kilgrave's control. Yeah.
Was that in the comics, or was that something they added? Do you know?
It was something they added. Luke Cage was introduced in the 70s in Marvel Comics, and it was part of, for lack of a better term at the time, and it is a genre, but blaxploitation.
Sure.
Like the Pam Grier style of movies. Marvel Comics went that way a little bit, and maybe he was introduced in the 60s, but I think it was the 70s. He was introduced in the 70s as a character, and Jessica Jones was actually introduced in the early 2000s by Brian Michael Bendis, who's a prolific writer over at Marvel, and he retro wrote her in to storylines. So he wrote her back into the Marvel Universe as a failed hero.
Mm-hmm.
And failed to the point where when she got controlled by Kilgrave, the Avengers didn't know who she was. No, they knew who she was.
She was
The
lost
Avengers
before
didn't
she was
care.
started.
Yeah, nobody cared who she was. Nobody cared that she was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in something like the Marvel Universe of comic books, where there's superheroes everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
If a superhero comes and goes, everyone's like, "Remember that guy with the weird powers? Like, whatever happened to that guy? I don't know. Let's drink another beer and go fight Thanos."
Those are the ones getting up on CW.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the one for the movies? Yeah, we'll take them.
Yeah.
We'll vibe. Yeah, why not?
That's the
We'll
ones
do
we're
it.
gonna lease out to Fox.
Yeah.
No, but so and then they were introduced to eventually get married and have a kid in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
As her character was introduced, and then she comes out of all of her PTSD and she becomes more of a stable character. Her and Luke Cage fall in love, and then they have a kid, and they become part of the Avengers. It's a whole big thing in the comics. I don't know if they're ever going to go that way with the Netflix series. Everyone keeps wondering, is Daredevil and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and
Was that the plan? They're going to become the Gotham or Marvel
are they all going to
Marvel
get to be in?
Knights?
Well, everyone's asking, are they going to get to be in the Marvel movies?
Oh.
And here's the thing about. See, here's where we get back to the corporate side that I want to touch on.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel movies and Marvel TV are two separate entities. They're both Marvel.
They're both parent company.
They're both Marvel. They work together, but they don't work together.
kind of like a CW CBS situation, or a little less than that,
less than that. I mean,
but still a barrier.
it's still a barrier, and what it is it's a barrier of. I think a lot of times it's a barrier of personality, and not a barrier of the character personalities.
The tone of the show.
No, I think it's the personalities running it. It would be like if you and I didn't get along, and I'm running one half the business and you're running the other half.
Mm-hmm.
There's not going to be a lot of crossover. There's just not, because we don't get along. Yeah. Not that, and I don't.
It's a shame.
Yeah, and that's only scuttlebutt, to use a term, but like that's only like that's rumors and conjecture. Like I've never sat down with the folks that run Marvel and been like, so you guys really don't get along? Is that a thing?
Mm-hmm.
You know? But I mean, that's what everyone puts out there, that these two guys don't really get along, and they both have a huge ego, and they both want to run the way they want to run.
Wait, Hollywood guys with egos,
Right?
Yeah.
Comic book guys that have a ton of money now.
Well, that's a shame, because I always felt Daredevil would be the perfect, and just like it was in the I don't know the comic books. Growing up, when it comes to Marvel, I
Yeah.
didn't really read the comic books outside of X-Men.
Okay.
But what I do know is the animated series.
Okay.
I feel like for my generation, which is not that far from yours, X-Men, Spider-Man, Batman animated series, that's where I learned about comic books.
Mm-hmm.
And Daredevil had quite the mentorship, kind of a fathership role to Spider-Man. And I feel like this version of Daredevil works perfect. And I think Spider-Man needs firepower. I know it's a big deal. He's joining. He's going to be in Captain America, not Winter Soldier, what's the new one? Civil War.
Yeah.
But you want to do a little kid? How do you just throw a kid into that?
Well, he's gonna be a teenager.
Okay, but he's
But
a
they also
kid.
wanted. Well, they also wanted. They're at the point now where the actors they have are getting older. Robert
Mhm.
Downey Jr. is in his 45. You know what I mean?
At
Like,
least.
but not only that, the paychecks are huge.
Yeah.
So you're gonna start seeing Marvel with their casting.
They
if
want to
it's-
shuffle it around.
They're gonna start making people. They're gonna start casting young people
Mhm.
because.
They want it to last.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna hire you at 16.
Mm.
Your first movie is gonna come out when you're 18.
Mhm.
And then from there, you're going to carry in this movie franchise for the next 10 years until you're like 28 years old.
Okay, but still,
Yeah.
it's still beside my point.
Yeah.
This kid,
Spider-Man.
he's 17, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay,
The
he's 17,
actor.
but he looks like he's 15, 14.
Yeah, he looks young.
And they did it on purpose. But I don't think I can watch a movie. I think it'll be too kid. I don't think I can watch a Spider-Man movie where it's high school. I mean, I guess you're gonna do high school drama, but where the lead, I'm believing this 15-year-old is taking down legit villains.
Well, let's get into that as well. So, I mentioned earlier about Marvel and Fox. This is where we get into it.
Mhm.
So back in the 90s, Marvel comics got really bad, got really
Mhm.
dark and really bad financially, and
They sold off all their property.
they did what they had to do. They went bankrupt, and they were owned by one of the toy companies at one point. And the toy company,
Mattel? Someone?
no, it wasn't Mattel, it wasn't Hasbro, but they were owned by one of the toy companies that I don't even think it's in business anymore. It's part of the issue, right? And the toy company was like, well, look, there's this huge catalog of characters. We can make so many toys out of it. And there was a ton of toys that came out, but what happened was they also started selling off the rights to characters. So, for a long time, a long, long time, James Cameron was working with Fox, or maybe he's with Sony. So I'm sorry, James Cameron was with Sony, always has been, right? James Cameron wanted to do a Spider-Man movie. So Sony bought the rights to Spider-Man. That's why Spider-Man movies are Sony.
Mm-hmm.
They're not Sony. Am I saying it right? Whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, Spider-Man Sony.
Okay, so that's why that happened, right? And then X-Men, what happened was, even in the 90s, there was an X-Men show, Gen X.
Yeah.
They did not very good. They did it was Gen X, and
we can do a podcast. Let's rewatch that and talk about it.
100%.
I remember that coming on the air.
Yeah, I couldn't wait for it to come on the air.
It was an X-Men show, but they didn't ever want to call it X-Men.
Well, no, it was the new generation. It was Gen X was a comic.
Sure, but
so
I
they
remember
went that route.
it's one of those situations that comes in a lot.
And they couldn't mention the
They
X-Men.
couldn't mention it,
Yeah.
but they were on it. Kind of remember that Birds of Prey show that came out for a minute.
Yeah,
it was
it's
that
awful.
same feel
Awful.
to it.
Yeah, and this is where you get into the rights of things. So, Fox buys the rights to the X-Men for movies.
Mm-hmm.
So now, and this is how right laws work in this country. You have like 7 years.
You don't use it, it goes back.
It goes back to the original property holder, and so that's why you'll get crappy Fantastic Four movies that came out last year, because Sony was going to lose, or was it Fox? Fox was going to lose Fantastic Four.
Even no matter how bad I hear it is.
Yeah, no matter how bad.
Beyond terrible.
Yeah.
Did you see it? I want to
No,
see it.
I haven't seen it yet.
There will come a rainy day. It's San Diego. So
I don't know if I can cry myself to sleep watching that movie. But let me get further.
Mm-hmm.
So Fox ended up buying the rights to a lot of Marvel properties. Fantastic Four being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
X-Men Universe being another one. So anything created under X-Men, they've got access to. And here's where it gets weird. Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver
are X-Men,
and they're Avengers.
So
that's why you can have Quicksilver in X-Men Days of Future Past and X-Men Apocalypse. And another Quicksilver...
Way better Quicksilver than X-Men.
Yes,
He
and
was
another
fun.
Quicksilver in Marvel's Avengers
Right.
Age of Ultron.
Who was kind of a bitch in that movie.
You know what, I'm rewatching it, I kind of like him. He's grown on me. He's not the same
He
Quicksilver.
was Russian, I mean, there's some flavor there.
There's
But,
a weird accent. Yeah.
but I think that Quicksilver, that scene where he went fast in the kitchen,
Awesome.
one of the best use of showing how cool these powers are.
Well, that was the fun thing, is that in the X-Men movie, they were like, this is going to be a set piece.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to introduce this character, and you're going to be blown away.
Yeah.
And then in Age of Ultron, they were like, there is so much going on. He's just a character.
Yeah,
he runs fast. Like,
Mhm.
we're not going to get into the minutia of why he runs fast or nothing.
Before I saw that scene, I talk was happening of the Justice League movie.
Right.
And Flash, I think it's a great character, but I've also like, how do you make that work?
Right.
How do you do it? And I saw that scene and I was like, it's easy.
Everyone said
That's
that.
how you made it
Everyone
work.
said it.
That's
The
how you
moment
make it
that
work.
was on TV, everyone was like, "Oh yes,
Mhm.
finally we understand how it works."
Mhm.
And the funny thing about that is that's why you have to have a huge deal like Sony corporate being hacked and having emails get released.
Do you think the hack had a lot?
100%. The hack
Really?
bent Sony over the table, and
We
they
gotta-
had to take
We got to
it.
change the subject.
The Spider-Man movies they were making, the first one worked. The Amazing
Kind
Spider-Man,
of.
it worked.
Kind of.
The second one did not.
No,
And everyone
no.
was like, what are you doing? You revamped the series, and now we're pissed.
I feel you talk about movies are underrated, movies are overrated.
Yeah.
No one said the second Spider-Man was good.
No.
I don't think they really captured how bad it was. That was a bad Spider. They were just throwing characters, more characters, more characters, more characters.
Yeah.
You get to the end, and Rhino's about to fight.
Underusing Jamie Foxx
Yes.
as the character Electro.
And
Yeah,
the
terrible.
I always hate in movies when the reasoning between why I'm a villain
Yeah.
is you like embarrassed me once.
Yeah.
The same thing in Iron Man 3 is like, really?
Yeah.
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 That guy got stood up on the top of a building and all of a sudden was like,
Technically speaking,
my
Iron Man-
life is going to
Technically
spend
speaking,
on
Iron
taking
Man 2, because Justin Hammer is always embarrassed by Tony Stark.
Yes, but that's different. That is. But that's
Yeah.
that was an overzealous, power-hungry man. Just a guy. And he tapped into the wrong Whiplash.
Yeah. Whiplash, yeah.
So Whiplash was the real enemy. He was just stupid, and he let the Pandora out of the box.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why you don't see Spider-Man in other movies,
Mhm.
Avengers movies, or Marvel property movies, and because of the Sony hack, a deal was made, a momentous, monumental, like 1 year ago deal
Yeah.
was made that Marvel is going to have access to Spider-Man,
Mhm.
and Sony's going to have access to Marvel. So you're not necessarily going to see
Sony has access to Marvel.
in a way that that Marvel controls it. In that
They have to approve it, but they'll be.
but I mean the possibility of Chris Evans as Captain America being in the next Spider-Man movie as
That
a
would work.
mentor is 100% there.
I'd rather see it be Daredevil. I think that's the perfect
Yeah.
casting. I mean, it's so New York
But,
Central.
but you know what? On that note, because of this, it's possible. It's possible that the guy who
maybe
plays
the
Daredevil,
Sony guy
yeah,
and the Marvel Netflix guy, whoever or whatever department that is, maybe they don't hate each other.
right.
I haven't heard that.
Right, but it is possible that any Marvel character can be in a Sony Spider-Man stuff because they do want to work together. They're like, this is stupid. You know, we can't have all of our properties spread out. Unfortunately, Fox has been making movies that make money, and they're like, well, yeah, but we don't need to give you the X-Men, and we don't care if the Avengers are in our movies.
And you know what? I don't
Yeah.
think it would benefit X-Men from joining.
Well, and here's where you mentioned this earlier. Here's where it gets a little sticky. Now, I don't know any facts. This is just from reading articles and seeing stuff online for months and months and months. But even though they're making X-Men comics, it feels like Marvel has stopped pushing them.
Oh, they have.
And what you see is Marvel's been pushing the Inhumans, especially on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter and in the movies. And
Shield, Carter, and what's the other? Is that the two on ABC?
those are the two on ABC.
So that's a weird sect of Marvel, I feel.
It's a little more down to earth.
Yeah, it's based around people, and that's
Yes.
fine.
Well,
But
and they have powers now.
Okay, but the character
Coulson.
dialogue, the plethora of characters they have
Right.
is they're going crazy deep on who they can get. I remember in its first season they got Deathlock, and that was like their big guy.
Yeah.
That is not a big character.
No, but this year they've introduced the Inhumans. Well, they introduced them last year.
Even that's not. It's
But
not
here's
Daredevil.
but here's the thing. Inhumans in Marvel Comics were always a Fantastic Four property. They were just something that, the Fantastic Four really dealt with the Inhumans until the X-Men, the Dark Phoenix saga were on the dark side of the moon, or the blue area of the moon where the Inhumans were, and they had a big fight with Dark Phoenix.
That was Pink Floyd's third album, right?
Well, yeah. But the point being is that a lot of this stuff the Inhumans started playing with other characters in the Marvel universe, and then all of a sudden, like an epiphany went off in Marvel's head. Wait a minute, we don't need to have mutants. We don't need to have our X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
We'll create new characters, and we'll push them in all of our different properties, and they'll become just as big.
Give me a background. Inhumans. I know you told me where they came from, but what are they? They're kind of their own type of mutants.
Well, traditionally, what they were. Well,
Is this
traditionally,
a group
what they
of people
were.
Inhumans. I hear it's plural.
It was a very
I don't
small
know
group.
any.
It was a very small group of people. Traditionally, what they were was. Okay, I'm going to go down a small rabbit hole for you. Okay. They've introduced the Kree in the Avengers movies. Kinda.
The Kree.
It's an alien race. There was an alien
Is
race.
that in a Thor thing?
No, they were kind of the ones. They were supposedly the ones that attacked in Avengers. They were the aliens, supposedly.
Okay.
Supposedly. Point being is in the comic books, and I could be completely wrong. Somebody correct us, please. Correct us, please. I'd love your comments. I'd love you just listen to this and be
tweet at FM94SD. Hopefully Hillary gets it and she's like, what the hell does this
Hopefully
mean?
Woods gets it and he responds with, no thanks, pal. I like chicks.
Yeah, no thanks. I like chicks.
Yeah,
I'm gonna play baseball. I'm so buff. Give me your cigarette.
No, but in the Marvel comics, the Kree are an alien race who came to Earth centuries ago, did experiments on Earthlings, and there was a sect of them that stayed in this one secluded area.
Okay.
And they advanced as a civilization faster than the rest of the Earth.
Are these aliens that look just like?
No, these were humans. No, they were aliens came down, did experiments on humans. Then those humans advanced faster than other humans.
Gotcha.
As they were they were hidden away, like in the Himalayas somewhere, in the Himalayas where we've never been. And they were hidden away, and there was these crystals. They were called the Terrigenesis crystals, and basically, at puberty, you go to the Terrigenesis crystals, and then you go through a transformation, and you come out of it looking different
Mhm.
and having powers. That's the basis of the Inhumans. But in
Okay.
but in current Marvel,
Did they treat it as a blank slate? Their powers are whatever we want them to be.
yeah,
and,
and in current Marvel, they're
Yeah, why
kind of
wouldn't
the
you?
X-Men. They're kind of just
Okay.
mutants. Oh, okay. So there's a
How many
crystal.
are in this? How many are there?
They don't say. There was like
What's the
a
field? Is it 100? Is it 10,000?
No, it's
are
like
they all over the world?
yeah, they don't know. And that was the
Okay.
thing at the end of last season of Agents of Shield. It got into the water. Fish ate the stuff.
That was mutant fish all over the place.
No, and then the fish were made into fish oil capsules, and then everybody takes their dietary supplements of fish oil, and then people are transforming into Inhumans after they take their fish oil, because people they're like, oh, fish oil, it's good for me.
That's good. You
Yeah,
got the
so
omega-3s.
so that was how they introduced in Marvel in Agents of Shield how Inhumans can be anywhere and everywhere at any time they decided to create a new character and want to have a character on the show.
Okay.
I mean, that was them just going, you know, if you hit puberty, you could become a mutant. Or, if you pop a fish oil capsule, you could become an Inhuman. Huh?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like that though.
Is what it is.
It's the whole reason. I think it's okay that X-Men doesn't join up.
Yeah.
Because you've got the Avengers going on, and now there's other heroes. But let's say we're dealing with probably 15, 16 tops.
Sure.
If you introduce X-Men,
You can't pay that many actors.
No.
Or have that many powers. Yeah.
And just story-wise, if you go from like, oh, there's just 15 groups of or 15 superheroes. Oh wait, no, there's everywhere. There's Superman. Now it's like Iron Man's really not that big a deal. I mean, Hulk's probably still a big
Well,
deal.
and they did that in the mid 2000s and Marvel Comics, early 2000s. Marvel Comics, they had a storyline called House of M. And we're going way down the weeds right now, and I want to get out of it. But real quick, they had a storyline called House of M, and it was where Scarlet Witch, who they introduced in the Avengers Age of Ultron movie, and she will be in the movies from now on, and someone wrote that her powers were so strong, she could change reality. And her dad is Magneto,
Mm-hmm.
and he'd done something really bad, and so she decided to say the words, "No more mutants." And the next morning, everybody woke up in a brand new world. And everybody existed in a new world as if that had always been their world.
Mhm.
That had always been their reality. And
Kind of a Marvel Earth.
right, and in that
True.
reality, well, no, how did this happen? Wait, I'm sorry, I went too far. Quicksilver whispered in Wanda's ear, and she did something to make that happen. Now it was called House of M.
Mhm.
Magneto was now the king of all mutants. Mutants were the dominating species on the planet.
Mhm.
It was kind of a utopia, but people were like, "But something's wrong. Like this
Mhm.
isn't right. Something's weird." And eventually, as the story unravels and everyone realizes we're in a different reality, it's Wanda's fault, and they get back to the normal reality. That's when she says, "No more mutants," and it took away the mutant powers of like almost everybody down to 198 mutants.
Mhm.
And that was Marvel going, "We're gonna rein this in. We're gonna pull back. We're gonna come back."
Yeah.
And everybody hated it because some of their favorite characters lost their mutant powers, and they were like, "Oh, come on!" But that was them trying to get control.
If you
of the
left
situation.
198 though,
Yeah.
199 through 500.
Yeah.
Man, those got to be some small time characters, you know.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of it was like they pick and chose. Like, for example, in the new X-Men movie, they're introducing Jubilee. Again, they introduced her once, but not
Sure, she
officially.
kind of walked through a door.
Right, and now she's actually going to be introduced with powers.
Mhm.
In the X-Men comics, in the No More Mutants, she lost her powers. I'm a big Jubilee fan. I'm like the one on the planet that's a Jubilee fan. But she lost her powers. So, like, I was that guy that was like, "Come on!"
Well, in the X-Men movies, Jubilee pretty much they took Rogue's story and Jubilee's story and gave it to Rogue. Jubilee was Wolverine's little "I'm gonna look out for
Yes,
you"
yes,
character.
yes. Yeah, she was his sidekick for a long time. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Well, anyway, we went way deep on this episode.
Yes.
So let's wrap this one up.
Uh-huh.
This was the first episode of Capes on Capes.
Mhm.
I'm Hamby. You're Bryce.
I'm Bryce.
You're not on Twitter, right?
No, you can tweet me at Bob Radio.
Yeah,
SD.
at Bob Radio SD or at the radio station.
No, I have a
FM
personal
94.9
one. I
SD.
don't use much, but I'll figure out what it is. And next episode, I'll let you know. For now, just tweet Hamby.
At
He'll let
Hamby
me
San
know
Diego,
what
yeah.
I want to hear. Yeah, this episode we really went deep and just went off because. Are we still recording?
Yeah, we're recording.
Okay.
It's just the
Oh,
screen
we're
froze
going
up.
so long that our computer froze up. But this is basically what we're gonna talk about, man. We're just gonna shoot the shit. It's comic books, but comic books are in every way a treat.
I think we're gonna. I think the flow of the shows, we're gonna mainly focus on the shows because that's content every week.
Sure.
So we'll talk about what we watched.
But if, it's just, if we go off on a tangent, it's
yeah,
just
if we go
gonna
off on a
happen.
tangent, we go off on a tangent.
Personally, I like that I am just about to finish my big beer,
Yes.
and whenever I'm done with my beer, it's about time to wrap it up.
The great thing is that the Rock and Roll Happy Hour is happening right as we speak. It just started a minute ago. So we're gonna finish this beer, literally walk 5 feet to the next studio and have more beer.
More beer.
Yeah. More beer.
Who knows? Maybe we'll come back and make another podcast.
Yeah. But we'll do. We're gonna do one of these a week.
Round 2 will be beers on capes.
Yeah, beers on capes. But we're gonna try to do an episode a week. We're gonna try to record on Friday nights.
Yes.
So you can always expect a new episode sometime probably by Monday.
Yeah.
And I am on Twitter. I'm at Hamby San Diego, or you can tweet at the radio station at FM949SD.
And if you tweet at Bob Radio ST, I will also get that.
That is you
and
100%.
And if you like reggae,
tune
into Bob Radio, BobST.com.
Tune into Bob Radio. What are you doing tomorrow? They're not going to hear this by the time, but tomorrow is Bob Marley's birthday.
Yeah, it is Bob Marley's birthday.
24 hours of Bob Marley.
Yeah, just Bob Marley.
How do you get 24 hours of Bob Marley? Are you mixing in the Marley clan?
No, just Bob Marley.
Just going deep.
If we were able to do a 24 hours of Foo Fighters, and nothing against Foo Fighters, it's an incredible band.
We did 24 hours of Foo?
We did of just Foo Fighters.
Did we do that on Christmas one year?
Yeah, it was on Christmas one year. Or New Year's, Happy Foo year. But it's amazing how deep the catalog of Bob Marley goes.
You know what we didn't get into? We didn't get into really movies. I mean, we did, but we didn't even talk about all the movies that are coming out.
I think for this podcast...
Why this podcast has relevance.
We were both excited.
Yes.
So you asked me about this character.
I
want to deep into...
This hour was us vomiting everything we wanted to say.
We'll be a little more content-based. This one was just... I love comic movies. I love comic books. I think it's a Shakespeare of our time, and that sounds silly, but it's really one of the great arts.
You know what
we
it
have.
doesn't? Because we all want to be told a good story.
And they just do a great
and
job.
comic books are currently pop culture, and you're telling me stories of people failing and rising back up. Mm-hmm. It's universal. It's not just it's not like just Grey's Anatomy where the hero fails to save the baby and then she comes back the next week and saves a guy and she has to deal with her emotions. I don't watch Grey's Anatomy. I don't know why I reached for that one. Yeah.
It's not Grey's Anatomy.
We do want to talk about stuff like we've talked about maybe having some bits like coming soon. Or you may have missed this, where we talk about something classic.
Sure. Sure. We could also dissect some trailers if it. I mean, down 100%. To the T.
Yes. And then of course I want to get in next week. I'd like to talk about all the movies coming out, and one of those being Deadpool, because I think on Monday I'm not 100% confirmed. So hopefully, when this show airs, but the next time we'll have it inserted. Hopefully, I'll be interviewing Rob Liefeld, creator of Deadpool. On Monday, and I'm hoping to have that audio first.
Of Deadpool and the characters
Cable.
with chests as big. You can see my arms; they're stretched as far as they go.
Cable and X-Force, yeah.
I love Cable. One of the first comic books I ever bought for myself.
I'm a big fan of Cable.
The only real #1 comic book I own. Like Cable came out, I bought the #1 issue.
I don't even own comic books anymore. I mean, I do. I have graphic novels, and at my mom's house, she won't let me get rid of some of my long boxes. If you know comic books, you know what a long box is.
No, I have a long box full right now.
Yeah, I have.
Galactic Comics and OB. I'll give them a free plug. That's where I have subscriptions there. It's a great comic book shop.
You have a brick and mortar comic book shop you like?
I do.
Galactic Comics in Ocean Beach.
Fantastic comic book shop.
That's
awesome. It's hard for a comic book shop this day and age, and if you want to buy some comics,
there's one in Hillcrest. I live in North Park. There's one in Hillcrest called. Oh man, I don't remember now. I don't go there anymore because I get all my comics visually.
You gotta go. A couple bucks a week. Just pick a comic.
Where do I have a couple bucks?
Got a couple bucks. I can't.
Between my Netflix, my Hulu.
Cancel Hulu. You can.
I actually don't have Hulu. And we'll talk about the news every week. So I mean, we have stuff to talk about.
Yes, I have to pee really bad. So
no, let's get the show.
We're gonna wrap this up. We'll be back next Friday. I'll see you then. I'm Bryce.
I'm Hamby.
Yeah, have a fantastic night whenever this comes out.